neural networks. So predictive analytics. Mostly when you're taking
Is it
a
audible?
course on deep learning or machine learning, mostly you'll
Yes,
be
yes, sir.
these
Okay,
concepts
fine
of
then.
neural
Carry on.
networks.
Okay.
So let us try to understand what is basically a neural network. So now I want to have a question for you, like how does your brain identify a picture? Assume that our brain is there and this is 3, right?
It's not audible, I guess.
It's not audible.
No, no, nothing is audible.
Not audible.
Someone call sir then.
Is it audible right now?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Is it audible?
No.
Said that in the beginning it was audible.
This 3, right? We recognize this one as a 3.
Is
Very good.
my
As a human being,
thing
we are very
audible?
good
Yes, sir.
in.
Not
Now
my
it's
voice.
audible, sir.
Now it is audible.
And what about this?
Yes, sir.
This also a 3.
The
This
video.
is also a 3.
Yes, sir.
This
Video
is
and
not
you
a
both
3,
are
this
audible,
is
sir.
8. This is not
Fine,
a
okay.
3, it is 7. This is not a 3, it is 6. Fine. So we are particularly able to, our brain is very much uh, accurately, it can distinguish or it can recognize these pictures. So this 3 is a little bit so much hazy on the upper part.
So can you play from the
These
beginning once
3
more?
maybe a little bit broader way the character is, and these 3 maybe like a little bit sharpness or something is involved. Still, our brain is able to recognize this one. It says that it is 3, right? This is 3, this is 3, and this is 3. So how does our brain do this? Let us go with the next slide, taking that. So our brain comprises of neurons. We call this one as biological neurons, right? It comprises of neurons. So what happens is when we see something from the outside world, so through our eyes, we see the picture and then the message, the electrical pulse, it message in terms of some electrical pulses, it will be transmitted to the neuron. So neuron now has got some parts of this parts where in its nucleus, it processes the data and then it projects the electrical signals pulses again to some other neuron or some other cell, which in turn responsible for giving a stimuli to us, stating that this is a 3, right? So this is fine with us. Now, how does a neuron work, or what is this? The study about this neuron only is this, and the artificial neuron is this neural network. So how this is able to classify or how this is able to distinguish these particular neurons is the study that we are going to do in this particular lecture. So again, how machine recognize? See, humans are very good in recognizing numbers, figures, or whatever may be. It depends upon how much the data has been trained well. So now, how does a machine recognize this particular image, whether it is a 3 or whether it is a 8 or whether it is whatever number is given here? How does it recognize? So you take your screen, for example, this is your screen, and this screen, assume that it comprises of 28 cross 28 pixels, that is 784 pixels, and this basically is fed or given to a neural network. What is this neural network? We'll see later. Consider this one as a black box for time being, and this data is being projected to the neural network. Now, so this is 28 cross 28. So this is 28 rows and rows like this, 28 rows and 28 columns are there. So it is 784 pixels. These are the, so wherever, see, assume that this 8 is there here. If you write it a little bit dark, okay, so it means that the intensity for that particular pixel, how much value it should be, that data will be available here. So let us assume that 0 to 255. Okay, the values are 0 to 255, and then depending upon the intensity or how brightness it is or how low brightness it is, okay, based on that one, these numbers are basically available here, right? So if you take this one, this is an 8, this number is 8, and if you see here, remaining all the values here are zeros, whereas this particular picture, wherever the edges or possibly the shapes is available for this particular picture, the 8, there we can find some numbers. So these particular, so you can say that this is 784 pixels totally, 28 cross 28 cross, okay, and this is 784 pixels. So each pixel has got some value. Now here this is 0, this is 0, all this comprise of 0 because no value or no edge or no brightness is associated with it. Means that there is nothing available with this, okay, or completely white, no darkness is there. So you can see here, but whereas here in this part of the figure or picture, you can see some values available here, right? With what intensity it is, that pixel is available for that particular picture. Now this is fed pixel 1, pixel 2, pixel 3, pixel 4, like this up to 784 pixels are available, and these 784 pixels are fed to 784 neurons, or assume that this is the input that we are giving to these neurons. Now this particular input, this is assume that this is the input layer of that neuron. So this is given. So this particular pixel is fed here. This particular pixel 2 is given here, pixel 3 like this, and like this pixel 20 is given here, and pixel 784 is given here to the last cell. Now these 784 pixels are further given past. It propagates the value. This values pixel
Hello?
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir,
Hello.
audible.
Yes, sir,
Hello.
audible. Audible, sir.
Okay, fine. Because actually the power has gone right now, and again it came back. But still, I have connected now my internet with my mobile data, so I believe that it should be continuously flowing. So no issue. Okay. Is it visible? My screen is visible.
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay, fine. So we were discussing this, right? So this in this picture, so this 784 pixels are being given as an input to this input layer of the neural network, and this from this input layer, the data or the value is provided along with probably with some weights also are propagated to the inner layer, and it does some processing activities in this middle layer. For time being, I said you that let this be a black box and let us not understand anything of this part. And then the data is further processed and then it is propagated for the output layer. And in this output layer, it decides like what should be the value that is when, for example, this is 0 and this is 9, then it says that this particular value is 8. Okay, here. So it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here this gets highlighted more or this gets the value, and then you say that this has the highest value or this particular node is activated more, or the features associated with this particular node has been projected more than any other nodes here, and then you get the output. So the machine learns and then the machine recognizes a character or an image in this fashion. So let us see further like the differences between a human brain versus neural network. What is a neuron? So we said that a biological neuron, this is the figure of a biological neuron, if you see here. So it comprises of this basically neuron comprises of a nucleus. Okay, the cell body, which is the center one is this is the cell body and the center one is the nucleus and cytoplasm. Okay, and these branches you can see here, something outside. This extends from the cell body, and this is particularly responsible in receiving the signals. This thing, and this is the axon or axon hill. This gets extended from the cell body, and then it moves in creating some more branches. Okay, to like a nerve terminals. Okay, we call this one as a terminal axon. This part is like this part of the axon is the terminal axon. Okay, so this is a single neuron. This is a figure of a single neuron here. Now this is the axon hill. So whatever you give, maybe like to a neural network, okay, the processing of activity takes place in this this nucleus part, and also little bit in the axon part. Maybe like some activation will be done here. Firing of the activity, it will be done here. Okay, so if there are multiple neurons, this neuron and this neuron, the part of information, okay, transfer, or we call this one in the process of synapses, we call this one as a synapse. Okay, or the information transfer is through this, like it is the synapses are fired. Basically, when you fire, some electrical pulses that comes here, and that we call it as a synapse. Okay, so information transfer is done through this synapses. Okay, so there is a minor gap between one this dendrite to this terminal axon. So this is one neuron and this is another neuron. So it can be connected, neuron to neuron, it can be connected. So if you take an artificial neuron, so this artificial neuron compared with this biological neuron, if you see, you have again same like inputs. Okay, inputs, assume that these are the dendrites. So these are the inputs that you are providing to this nucleus or the cell body of the neuron. Now this cell body does some function. So f of x is a function here. So here x is the input. Okay, the vector x is the input, where you call this one as x1, x2. X is comprises of x1, x2, x3, x4, x9, like that, all the values, okay, of that particular input. And this is some function of this vector. Maybe like it is a possible that it should be adding, or it should be multiplying, or it should be doing any sort of activities in this particular nucleus part or cell body part. And then probably it fires also. Okay, it gives some output. Let us assume for time being that it gives some output yi. And similarly, when multiple neurons are connected together, so this is this input part, and this inputs you provide it. So x1, x2, x3, like that up to xn. This you provide it to the neurons. This neurons, it receives the message. Okay, like assume this is the single neuron, this is like this, and a single neuron is there. So you get input from different sources, x1, x2, x3, for example, up to xn, and then this again it fires. So it fires some weights actually. So along with some weights, okay, this output of this neuron along with these weights, okay, or here also along with these weights, it fires for the next level of the neuron, next level. Okay, assume that these are the hidden layers. Okay, these are the hidden layers. So it is passed or propagated the value. The data is propagated to the next layer and the next layer and the next layer till it attains some output and gets fired. So this is the difference between a human brain and a neural network. Okay, am I clear up to here? Am I clear? Hello,
Yes, sir.
am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
Fine. Now, the difference between human brain versus the artificial neural network. Okay, so you see a biological neuron, we have a cell nucleus, cell body. In that part, the processing part is the nucleus. So in artificial neuron or the neural network, we call this one as a node. So the cell nucleus is comparable with a node, or this node is comparable with this cell nucleus. And the inputs that we receive or we give it, that is x1, x2, x3, x4, xn, like that. These are like the dendrites in the biological neuron. And the synapse, the weights or interconnections are the synapses, the values which we provide to the network. Okay, edge, that is from one neuron to another neuron or to the neuron, receiving values that has got strength. Each edge has got some strength. That is what we call it as a weight or interconnection. Okay, that is comparable with a synapse. And the activation function or the learning rate or the learning function or the mapping function f of x is considered as is done in the axon. Okay, axon hill, and the terminal axon or the branches at last is the output yi. So this is how various terminologies in artificial neuron is comparable with a biological neuron, various parts of a biological neuron. Now, how does a machine recognize the image now? If you see in this particular slide, you have an input image, right? An unlabeled image is shown to the pre-trained network. It means that this particular image, assume that this is a dog, and this particular image need to be predicted. Okay, it's to be recognized what is this particular animal is. So before this, it is given here that unlabeled image is to be shown to the pre-trained network. So pre-trained, it means that some training activity has to be done before a new image or something is given to this particular neural network. So let us see here, go back here a little bit one step and do the training activity. So what we do is that earlier to this particular machine, okay, before feeding a new image, we train this by various animals. Assume that the elephant, the cat, the dog, the rabbit, the dog, the hen, or the lion, or the fox, like this, with the different animals, we try to train the particular model. So during the training phase, a neural network is fed with thousands of labeled images of animals learning to classify. So then now suppose you show someone that 100 animals, different animals, then afterwards you ask that child that what does this particular animal is. So definitely, because it is trained, right? When you tell a child, so when a machine is new, it is like a newborn baby. And how do you train that? you show different parts. Maybe like this is a fan in your household items. This is fan, this is AC, this is light, this is board, this is wall, this is a plate, this is a glass. So you show to the child and you label them. So labeled data only you show and then you train them. Once trained, so when a new animal or new entity is provided in front of that baby, so what does the baby say? This is so and so item, right? This is a fan, or this is a AC, or this is a cooler, or this is a freezer or something. It is going, the child is going to say. The same way the machine need to be trained earlier. So the machine is already trained, okay? Trained with the neural network with thousands of labeled images. So now when a new input is given, okay, an unlabeled image is given. So you do not know what is this, but you simply give the image to this one. Okay, feed to the model. Now, what does it do? The model sends or the extracts for this particular image. The model extracts various sub features first. So in the inner layer, if you are taking a neural network and training this system, so what does it do is it takes in the inner layer, it takes taking the input from this particular image at the first layer or the inner first layer or the hidden layers, first hidden layer. What it does is it extracts various sub parts or sub features or edges possibly of this particular feature. Maybe like the neuron responds to different shapes or edges or some in the upper level. Suppose in the hidden layer is of three hidden layers are there. Hidden layer 1, hidden layer 2, hidden layer 3. So maybe like hidden layer 1 is only responsible of the very basic features of finding out the edges, and the next level, okay, the next hidden layer is finding out the combination of these edges. Along with the combination of these edges, the layer will be able to find out some
Sir, not audible.
hello, I think somebody has muted me. Now it is, am I okay?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
I think now it is okay, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please, if I find out some students, maybe they are experimenting with the MS team still now. So please don't do anything like that. If you do, then like if I find out, then possibly there will be a grade back also. Okay, serious issues will be faced by the student who is playing some mischiefs. So I am very much particular. I know my students how they are. Okay, so once I catch out, maybe like things will be a little bit serious. Okay, so please don't help me to react. Okay, help me to do my duty to all the students of this group, please. So please don't do muting or unmuting business with respect to me. Okay, and also to your fellow friends. So I'm giving you liberty. It means that everybody have to use it in a proper way. Okay, fine. Okay, I'm going back to the class again. Is my slides visible again? Someone can respond.
No, sir. Yeah, yes, sir.
Sir, now
Okay, fine. Now it is visible. Fine then. Okay. So we are seeing here. So the hidden layers, what it does is it find out various edges, shapes, and then different complex structures, and it passes further to the top layer. Okay, to the like a output layer, one minus the output layer. Let us assume that, or this is the output layer. Let us assume that this is the output layer only. Okay, so the neuron responds to highly complex and abstract concepts that would be identified as different animals. Maybe like it will give this different thing. Now what happens is that combination of this feature and this feature possibly is this feature. Okay, this and this and this and this and this combined together, the features matching with, so this with this one. Okay, this is matching, this feature is matching with this. Different features here are matched with this particular image. Similarly, there is a horse also which matches with maybe like this particular structure. Okay, complex structure is matching, it is matching with this particular this one, but horse or the image, but with some percentage. Maybe like you take this, let us assume that this is a cat, and this is also matched, like this feature and this feature combinedly together, there is some matching also with this particular animal called cat. So with this, if you see that out of all this, only this one will be the highest value. So you say that 90% of the features associated with a dog is available here in this particular input image. So you say that you predict that this is a dog. If this is 85%, then you say that okay, 85%, they may be like a, so still this is this dog has got the 90%. So you say that this is dog. So if it is this is here, and with respect to this particular image, 10% of the dogs feature are also available in this particular image. But this is because it is only 10%, maybe like it is below some threshold. So you are not going to, you are not interested in projecting out that, and you are interested only on the highest projection. Okay, highest percentage which is being taken. Okay, so this is, so the network predicts the object based on its training. So fine. Anything to be cleared in this particular slide? Somebody, if any doubts are there, you can please ask me.
Sir.
Otherwise, I'll move to the next slide.
Sir. Hello.
Hello.
Now, so one of the biggest problem with conventional machine learning algorithm, okay, is the curse of dimensionality. What is this curse of dimensionality? It means that there is huge number of dimensions. That is the thing. So traditional machine learning algorithms do not work well with high dimensional data. Probably maybe like 100 or 1000 or even more features. Because the reason is that this feature extraction or selection becomes more complicated, and there is human involvement in extracting these particular features. Okay, so that's the problem with the curse of dimensionality, or the huge dimensions associated with this particular image, or maybe like the input data. Now, this is resolved basically with the help of deep learning. For deep learning, the underlying structure is again neural network. Okay. Again, of course, we'll also have some lectures on deep learning also in this course. So the deep learning models can focus on listening the right features on their own. So feature extraction and selection is left over to the machine, right? Now, human involvement is not much required here in deep learning. Now, let's again discuss about this curse of dimensionality. Why we are discussing about these dimensions? Why dimensions are very much important here? Now, if you see, from one level to next level to next level to next level, like that in a neural network, if you go, various features, the combination of features or the availability, attainment, or the selection of features play a very, very important role. Now, for an example, in an analytical workspace, if you see here for the cube, now you have on the x-axis, you're having the time, y-axis you have the product, and z-axis you have the customer. Let us see that this is this like a at time, some time t for the product, which customer has sold how much, how many items, for example, or how many products. So these are the figures that are available here. Now assume that a dimension is increased. The fourth dimension comes into picture. That is the place. For example, place at particular place like Vancouver, maybe like or Washington or Delhi or Mumbai or Chennai, okay, or Rourkela. what are the value, how the customers are performing. So in that case, how do you visualize this? Yes, how do you visualize this one? You need to go with higher dimensions. So I mean to say that like combination of these 3 dimensions, you get the 4th dimension. Now, so if you wanted to get the 5th dimension, so again combinations of 4 dimensions comes into picture. If you wanted to get the 6th dimension, combination of 5 dimensions comes into picture, and 7th dimension or nth dimension, combination of n minus 1th dimensions come into picture. Or you also can represent this one in terms of a lattice, right? Lattice representation, and that takes a huge, if there are huge number of features, then it will be a huge headache for us to extract all the features and put it or feed it to the neural network. Have you heard about the do-it-yourself projects? These do-it-yourself projects are basically like machines or like which can help you in designing something without the help of some experts, right? You must have heard about this fun teachable machines, that DIY project, fun teachable machines. If you see, there is a image project, there is a audio project, and there is a pose project. So this can be helped out to train a computer to recognize your own images, sounds, and poses. How? Let us see for a image process. What it does is assume that we give 2 classes. Assume that a human class and a this a doll class. Okay, doll of a dog class. Now, so in class 1, you show the human being with the different images of that human. Okay, samples, different samples of that human. And in class 2, you show a number of dolls, okay, or the dolls images, samples, like that. Now, what you can do is, once after the training, so the system gets trained, and once you give a test data, for example, like one image is given, then that in that image, what is the percentage of human class 1 sample is there, features are there, and what is the percentage of class 2 features are there. So how much human is there and how much dog features are there available, it will just project to you. That is the image project. Okay, so it teach based on images from files or from your own webcam also. Similarly, there is an audio project. Okay, so it teach based on 1 second long sounds from files or your microphones. For example, what happens is that you train, suppose you make 3 classes, class 1, class 2, class 3. Let us assume that, like class 1 is humming. Okay, you do some humming, and class 2 is you do some clapping. Okay, you clap, and class 3 is you do some whistling. So now, after doing this one, after all, you should remember that this audio, the audio data is stored in terms of a spectrogram. Okay, spectrogram. So now what happens is, when you give a new image or a new data, new audio, which is converted as a spectrogram, it will match. It will say how much features, what is the percentage of feature for the classes, for a clap class, or for a humming class, or a another one is whistle class. So what is the percentage? And it will tell you that you are whistling or you are humming or you are what is this, clapping. It will say you. Similarly, for a pose project, what it does is you give the images of different poses, maybe like doing some exercise, standing, doing some exercise, or sitting, like this, different poses you can give it. And once you give this, what happens is you train with the different samples of standing images. Class 1. Okay, class 2, you give different select files or these images, or the video or whatever, maybe you can take it with the different exercising features. Okay, exercising poses and also sitting poses, you take it, and as a class 3. Now what happens is, when you give a test image, it again matches with this class features, and then it extracts the features and it checks to have what particular class does these features belong to, and it will project you whether you are sitting or whether you are jumping or whether you are exercising or whether you are standing or whatever may be the pose that you give as train earlier. So you can train a computer or to recognize your own images or sounds and poses. Now we will see perceptron, which is the most basic form of neural network. Perceptrons are basically used in binary classification. Okay, for yes or no, or two example is like a email classification, spam or unspam classification, like a yes or no. Okay, telling yes or no, or a tumor cell, for example, classifying them as a benign or malignant. Okay, so this perceptron, which is the very basic form of neural network, will classify for any binary classifiers. Now, so perceptron is a simple model of a biological neuron in the form of an artificial neural network. It is also the name of an early algorithm for supervised learning of binary classifiers. So definitely, okay, perceptron. So when the neural networks were introduced, so this perceptron algorithm was one of the earliest in doing that. So why was perceptron designed? Basically, the perceptron algorithm was designed to classify patterns and groups by finding the linear separation between different objects and like patterns received through numeric or visual inputs. You should remember one thing, that this perceptron it or this supervised learning, early supervised learning algorithm can do only binary classification with linearly separable line. It cannot do, or it cannot take into consideration if the data or the given input is non-linear in structure. Assume that, see, this is the figure. Okay, for example, you take this one, and here suppose these are the two classes, the dots class and the plus symbol class. Okay, these are the two classes. Okay, plus class. Now this is completely non-linear. Or still, if there are any complex classes are there, like, okay, so like this is a complete combination of this plus and minus symbols are there. Here this is non-linear basically. Okay, this structure we call it as a non-linear structure, this one, and this is a complex class. Okay, so this is how, like for a non-linear or complex structures, this perceptron cannot work because it cannot linearly separate two elements or two classes. Now you see this one given, for example, in this figure, it is given like the data, okay, about the size of the animal, and in the y-axis and in the x-axis, the domestication data. So a linearly, here you see that this is a dog and this is a cat, for example. Here you can give a linearly separable line. Now you add another sample of dog, for example. Here another sample is. So based on the sample, how this linearly, earlier it is like this. Now the line goes on like this for getting linearly separable line. Now more dog, another dog you added here. Okay, another sample you have gone. So as it goes on adding, so the linearly separable line goes on changing. So it was earlier it is like this, and earlier next it is like this, and then now it has become like this. Suppose this side also you added something. Okay, so it goes on changing, like how, and you have to find that best line which is linearly separable between class 1 and class 2, class 1 and class 2. So this perceptron, how if you use a neural network, okay, perceptron, how does it do? So you have the inputs here, okay, you provide the inputs here completely, okay, these are the input sets here, okay, these inputs you are giving it to the neuron, okay, this is the neuron you are giving it, and each input is associated with some weights. As I say you that what are these weights, we will see again later, but weight stands for the strength of this particular input, okay. So now assume that along with this input, okay, these weights, okay, along with this input, this constant is the bias, okay, we will see that for later. So this constant is the bias, and then this inputs that you are going to give it, along with these inputs, these weights are multiplied and it's summed up, okay, it is completely summed up. This is assume that we are trying to do only the summation of the combination of summation of the inputs with the weights. So that's why we call this one as a weighted sum, okay, this is the weighted sum, okay. Assume that we are giving this neuron gives the output as this weighted sum only, it gives the output, and this is passed, it may range, okay, it may range from maybe like the values may range from here to here, but what you are trying to do is that you use a activation function, okay, the values are range from here to here, for example, but you want that the output value should be always between this value and this value, okay, this value and this value. So this is the window area where you wanted the values to be. So that's why you give an activation function so that you get the data only, the output only between this and this values only, okay, this and this. So this is afterwards you get the output here. This output basically you compare with the actual output, and then if error is there, again you do the remodification of this like weights and then biases, okay. So this is what is a perceptron. What is a perceptron? Any doubts here? Shall I move to the next slide? Fine. So the components of a perceptron. Okay, what are the components of the perceptron? We have the input values, right? The input values. These are the input values. Okay, these are the input values. The bias, then x1, x2, x3, xn minus 1, xn, like that. Xn values are available here as the input values, various components. If you see, okay, you have the weights and bias. So these are the weights for each node is associated with weight w1, w2, w3, like that, and w0 is basically the weight that is given for a constant or the bias. This is the bias, okay. Now net sum, which actually the work of summation or some actual computation work is being taken here, and this is like a nucleus, okay. And then activation function or step function is that like what should be the value, or like in the axion hill, assume that in the what happens in the axion hill, and then it triggers out or it fires out some output. This is what, so this is like the activity which happens in the axion hill, like it is stating or it is activating, or like using simply a step function, maybe like between the values ranging from -1 to, for example, +1 to +1. So these are the various components of a perceptron. So perceptron example, classifying linearly separable set of inputs. We'll see examples. Assume that you have been given a data like this, a data set, okay, available here like this. Now our interest is to draw a line, a linearly separable line. Possibly that we are interested like classifying this particular data and this particular data perfectly. So assume that we have randomly chosen a line. This is the line that is randomly chosen. Okay, assume that this is the line that we have chosen it randomly. Now this line, so you have chosen this line and then now you computed what is the error. The error found out to be 2. So one horse has been misclassified. Here this side it went into the other side of the dogs, and one dog has been classified as a horse. So this is not the correct classification. So error is 2. Now you adjust your weights and biases. Now again you drew another linearly separable line here like this. Now again you see that here one dog, the horse has been classified correctly, but one dog has been classified as a horse class, which is a wrong one. Now again you change your weights and bias, so you got now this particular line, right? And this line separates the dogs class and the horse class exactly. Now, if you see this is the correct classification. The error is 0. It means that all the horses are classified as horse and all the dogs are classified as dogs. So it means that this is perfect. Good. So our goal, given a data like this available, our goal is to find out this particular linearly separable line with error 0 or minimum, possibly maybe like as low as possible. Sometimes you may not be able to get the error completely as 0, but as low as possible with a minimal. Okay, we need to draw a linearly separable line. So classify, you need to classify basically the classify linearly separable set of inputs. Okay, you need to classify the linearly separable set of inputs. Now, we'll see out a working example like why the movement of line is basically important. Earlier you must have seen here, see this, we are doing this movement of line. Earlier this line is this is the set, and then we drew a random line, then we moved this line from here to here. Maybe like possibly this line has been this line has been brought somewhere here, and then it has been drawn like this. This is the line. Then afterwards this line has been down, okay, rotated downwards like this, right? So this was rotated up and this was rotated down, and to make give a perfect class. So why this movement of line is important? Why the movement of line is important? So assume the equation of the line is given as y equal to mx plus c, right? This is the equation of line where c is the intercept and the y-intercept and m is the slope, right? Now y equal to mx plus c. So this is the line, assume that. So for classification, the goal is to find the best line from all infinite positions. So anywhere it may be, the line may be given drawn like this, or the line may be drawn like this, or it may be drawn like this. Okay, it must be drawn anywhere that is possible, no issue. But our interest is to find from any infinite positions. We need to find out the best line that is possible. So hence the core perception is to figure out the nudges. Nudges is like an elbow separating from one linearly separable one class to another class. So this particular edge or the nudge with some weights assigned for that particular neurons or the inputs, and maybe like in order to attain the best nudge, we need to do some rotations. Rotations is done with respect to the m. Okay, m, and maybe like for this suppose the equation of the line is ax plus by plus c, then for a and b, okay, that is where we do the rotations, and c or this constant is the translation. Okay, the intercept y-intercept or something is like this. This is when we work with this, when we make changes with this c, translation goes on. When we make changes with m, the coefficients of x and y, basically you do rotations. Rotation with respect to y-intercept or with respect to x-intercept. Okay, we'll see that one, such that it can lead to the best line that is possible. Now, so how to move the line? We have two operations. One is the translation operation, another one is the rotation operation. What is this translation operation? Given a line like this, so this is the line, okay? This is the line that is given here. So this is the line, okay? Please see, observe here. This is the line. Now, this particular line, now, when move the line up and down in a parallel way. So what you can do is that this is the line, this line, okay, this line you can move up or down, right? This can be moved up or this can be moved down. So this is called translation operation. Rotation operation is move the points above the pivots in the clockwise and anti-clockwise direction. So this particular line is there available, and assume that this is joining. This pivot is of x and this pivot is of y, because it is in x-axis and this is in y-axis. This pivot is in y-axis, this pivot is in x-axis. So this either you can move in a clockwise direction like this, right? If you move clockwise direction, you can move this way in a clockwise direction, or it can move this way as the anti-clockwise direction. Similarly, this part in the y or y pivot, you can move in a clockwise direction this way, or you can move this way downwards, right? So this is what is called the rotation operation. So moving a line can be done either with the translation operation or the rotation operation. Now, rotation and translation, we'll see. What is the time right now? It is 5:10, I believe. So we'll stop the class here right now, and we will see this, okay? Remaining part of the slides, again, we'll see in our next class.
Should we leave?